Right, so legal analyst Mpumeleo Zikala joins us via video link to unpack the sentencing further. Mpumeleo, good afternoon, and thank you for your time with us here on the SABC at this hour.
Good afternoon to you, and also good afternoon to your viewers.
Let's get your reaction to the 12-year sentence handed down to Mdumiseni Zuma by the Pietermaritzburg Magistrates Court.
I think it was a sentence that needed to be handed down. However, I'm a bit unsure in terms of the amount which has been handed over. I think it's more or less like killing a fly with a sledgehammer. It's a known fact. When giving our sentences, our courts are guided by the case of S versus Zin that says you must look at the accused, the personal circumstances of the accused, look at the actual offense, and look at the community, what type of information we want a lesson to be learned by the community. Now, in this case, even though there might be a remote causal link based on the message that has been done based on the looting, I do not think they would have found a single person that would have said, I went into that mall because I was motivated by this particular individual. Yes, it can be insinuated because that is what has taken place. But at the end of the day, there's no conclusive evidence. And I think the court would have gone into that, but mostly sent a message to say, you can't be reckless and send messages such as these ones, because there are going to be individuals who are going to heed to that particular call. But at the same time, giving more or less 12 years as a method of punishment, I do not think that one is appropriate.
Absolutely, because he is the first of the so-called July instigators to be sentenced for the deadly violence. And, you know, we're questioning the precedents. What precedents does it set? Is it enough of a deterrent, given the situation in South Africa, the socioeconomic dynamics really unfolding even as we edge closer to elections?
Well, it is a deterrent, but I think it must be done in a proportionate manner. You can't be a sacrificial lamb for these type of processes. It has to be done in a fair and a much more appropriate manner. So if you're going to be able to prove, especially the causal link between the message that has been sent by him and the actions that have taken place, if you're going to have someone who's going to say, this is what has taken place, and I was actually, in fact, moving on based on his instructions, then you're going to definitely have a problem. I always have an issue with these type of offenses, by the way, because if it is sending a bad message, if it has the same effect as actioning upon on that particular message, sending a good message should have the same effect, by the way. So if you're going to find the causal link, as I've referred to earlier, then it's difficult for the state to prove that, but for the action of Mr. Zuma saying all these things on air or broadcasting this particular message, you have instances and individuals who are going to be caught saying that we acted on the basis of Mr. Zuma doing this particular act. I would have expected a suspended sentence, one which says be very careful in terms of the platforms in which you then have within your social media. Let's also look at the number of people that you command, the access or the far reach of the message that you have sent, and maybe look into that. But for these ones, I think he's now carrying the sins of other individuals.
Mpumelelo, speaking about being a sacrificial lamb and finding that causal link, perhaps for those who are not privy to what unfolded in court, you could speak to the issue, the crux of the matter, the rules relevant to the case and some of the laws that have been applied. And then at this point, can he appeal and on what grounds?
Now, if it's going to be alleged that the certain transgression that you have done, it must be an act which is unlawful. You must have had the intention of that particular act unfolding and the consequences which have to follow. And of course, the causal link. I'm not going to speak about his age, because he's above the age of 18. Hence, he does have the type of capacity that would allow him to recognize what is good and bad and to act in accordance with that. Now, if you want to prove that he's really the one that caused that particular damage, and through his instigating is the one that has caused individuals to go and loot or to go and burn that particular mall, then you have to say, out of all the individuals that were there, we're simply heeding to the call of Mdumiseni Zuma, and if it wasn't for his calling that they must go to this particular mall, the mall would have been saved and the mall would have been standing today. If you can't prove all those things, then it's difficult for you to try and convict him. And let's also take a step back and say, whenever you're dealing with criminal matters, you have to make sure that whatever that you are going to allege, it must be guilty beyond reasonable doubt, meaning there's no other explanation that can be there other than the explanation which is going to come by the court. If there are other factors that are there, on a technical basis, he should be let out. He doesn't have an opportunity to appeal the matter. He can go to because it is a magistrate court matter, to the High Court in Pietermaritzburg, or even to the SCA after that, or even to the Constitutional Court, in order to determine what are the factors that must be looked at, especially if we're going to deal with these type of matters. And I think it would be important because it is not the type of matter that would get regularly on our court rolls. So there must be an instance in which these type of matters must be discussed by a higher court, so that we have a very good precedent in what to look at and what not to look at when giving out these type of sentences.
Mpumelelo, just as we conclude, looking at theories about rehabilitating sentencing and restorative theories, from your vantage point, was justice served? From your vantage point, and then really, as we look at the other 65 alleged instigators that are also set to be appear in court for sentencing, what are you also then expecting on that front as we proceed forward?
As I stated earlier, you can't kill a fly with a sledgehammer. It must be proportionate. And the only way in which it's going to be proportionate is going to identify the extent or the level of participation of the individual, and then you can be able to punish them. Now, if you're going to adduce the loss that has taken place all to him, the employment that has been lost all to him, is the element of fairness then is out the window on that basis. So I think it should have been considered by the court, which the court would consider, by the way, as I stated the case of Mrs. Z, to say, look at the personal circumstances of the accused. If they say I was drunk at the time, it can be proved. Obviously, his cognitive sense must have been decreased. He didn't even know, could understand the impact of what he was doing. That must be taken into consideration. If we then look at the actual offense, look at the offense and try and tie it up within the causal linkage to what has taken place. But most importantly, what type of message are we sending to the community? Are we saying that we have the most harshest levels of laws, that if you do a single transgression, you're going to find yourself behind bars? And the most important question, if you send him to jail today, is he going to come back a better person, or are you sending him to be brewed to be a much bad individual when he comes out, if he thinks that the law was unfair to him when he was giving him a sentence?
Well, these are some of the lingering questions. Mpumelelo, let's leave that conversation then. Thank you for your time with us at the SAU, unpacking that case. Mpumeleo Zikala, legal analyst, just weighing in. We saw that one of the instigators of the 2021 civil unrest, Mdumiseni Zuma, has been sentenced to 12 years in jail. He appeared in the High Court in Pietermaritzburg this morning.